これでよかったんだろう、マリアン。
The bunch makes it to the Draconis and witness the island sink, and in its place, a huge vessel with a giant sword attached to it. This is the Aeropolis. And just then, a ray of light from the sword hits the ground, sucking the land into the sky. Dimlos explains that the weapon is called the Belcrant, the Aeropolis' ultimate weapon. It is located at the Aeropolis' capital and then operates from energy from the eye. He then goes on to explain that he and the other Swordians were awakened to destroy the eye, and if they don't act quickly, the Belcrant will destroy the planet.
Huh, you know, that's kind of like the world engine that was in Man of Steel. I wonder if this movie was inspired by Tales of Destiny in some way or form. I'm sure it was just a coincidence.
The Draconis is unable to reach Aeropolis. The only way to get there was to raise the city into the sky called Radisol, and they will have to do so yet again. And Radisol is the underwater city that Philia was summoned to. Upon reaching it, they make their way to the control room where they face a giant computer greeting them. This is Maris Riker, who was the commander of the Esther forces during the Aether Wars. Well, actually, this is just a personality imprint on the molecular matrix of a core crystal, just like Jor-El from... Wait a minute.
Did Man of Steel rip off Tales of Destiny? Zack Snyder, confess!
Anyway, Radisol has resurfaced because the underwater submission drive has stopped functioning. But in order to get airborne, a boot disk is needed. But before Riker can reveal the location of the disk, he first states that he needs an assistant. Preferably a scholar, which rules out Stan for obvious reasons. The group is given the ability to summon Bernardo the Sea Dragon, and they use it to search for assistant for our talking computer.
By the way, you also have the option to increase your party members at this point in the game, so if you want to add Bruiser Kong or Mary, you're free to do so. Getting Mary back is a must for Gene at least. He has a thing for Amazons. Anywho, we eventually find an assistant for Riker, and it's a junk hunter. Alright, apparently there are several key people that could have been an assistant, but this one was closest. Riker then directs the party to a cave west of Linnea. There, the boot disk is hidden, in a hidden temple. Anyway, long story short, Swordians are used to unlock some rooms, Stan fights a Dragon Knight, kicks his tail, and we are up one boot disk, and none too soon, because the Belcrant has taken another chunk out of the planet's surface. Stan and friends head back to Radisol, and with the boot disk and a well-trained assistant, the Radisol re-enters the atmosphere. The crew can use warp gates that connect the Aeropolis to each other, and their ultimate objective is to reach Die Croft. They head to the Aeropolis Ignatia, but to their disappointment, they find that the warp gate has been damaged, and probably not by accident. After consulting with Riker, it is decided that the group needs to head to Mikhail to use the Sky Cruiser, which is a short-range aerial device.
Okay, this is getting a little complicated.
So they reach Mikhail and come face-to-face with Rembrandt and Marion. Rembrandt attempts to blow away the group with the lens weapon, but it fails to do so. He then runs off with Stan and the others in pursuit. But it turns out to be a trap as Rembrandt uses his secret weapon, the Grim Reaper #1, and starts zapping their energy. But in the end, it fails to take them out and leads to Rembrandt's own demise. After rescuing Marion, they board the Sky Cruiser. The group tries to reach Die Croft, however, its mirror barrier and the Draconis prevent them from doing so. So our heroes make a cosmic U-turn and end up in Claudius in order to deactivate the Draconis. Along the way, however, they run into an unexpected participant in these affairs. Eileen! Not you!
Turns out she belongs to the Oberon Corporation, and she's loyal to Hugo. In her mind, they are not destroying the world, but creating a new one. Get used to hearing that, by the way. Eileen stands and fights, and unfortunately, we have to take her down. After the fight, Eileen tells them that she believes the world needs to be remade, and that it can't go on this way due to the evil in people's hearts. Boy, does that sound familiar. After all,
if there is evil in this world, it lurks in the hearts of men.
However, after a heartfelt exchange, she is won over by Stan's optimism, and perhaps that alone can be enough to change the world. Eileen tells them to go disable the Mirror Bearer before throwing herself out the door. The first order of business is reviving Ectanos, which they do so at a nearby facility. While the others are working on a device to get past the mirror shield, Rudy goes to visit Stan, who is shaken up by Eileen's death. After some touching back and forth, Rudy is able to get his spirits up, and just in time, because the mirror shield atomization device is ready to go. As the party warps to Aeropolis Deimos, the party searches around and runs into Baruch. You know the routine. They try to reason with him, but no, he's devoted to the big bad. We fight, he dies, moving on. They activate the self-destruct mode of the Guardian Draconis, and boom, there it goes. The Belcrant blasts again, and now the atmosphere is almost covered in terrain. With the mirror atomization device switched on, the mirror shield is destroyed. The team travels to the top of the Aeropolis and finally meets up with the man himself.
Hugo demands that they surrender, and before they even start to laugh, Hugo whips out the big black sword, which turns out to be the ultimate swordian from the Aether Wars called Berselius. Despite his big menacing rod, the party takes him on.
I mean, come on, after all, we came this far, right?
After defeating Hugo, we then get our twist ending. It turns out that Hugo was being mind-controlled the whole time by Berselius. But before Hugo dies, he is able to mend fences with his daughter Rudy. Suddenly, a new player enters the room. Chronos, the king of the Etherians, and the true main villain of Tales of Destiny. We promise. No, really, we promise. Even the Swordians thought they had killed him, but his soul managed to escape and remained alive in the Swordian Berselius. Kinda like how M. Bison keeps himself alive. Light then gathers into Berselius, and it evolves into the Swordian Prime. And then it casts a spell that knocks out the group. It's super effective. The Belcrant fires again, blasting a chunk more out of the land. Shoot, at this rate, there's not going to be any land left. Leaving the entire world covered in darkness. With the Belcrant's job done, it then falls from the sky as Chronos departs our beaten hero's company.
The gang makes it back to the king and reports to him what went down. They assure him that they will go back up there and give him what for. But the king informs him that the anti-gravity elevator has been damaged. To improve matters, monsters start raining down on the world's towns. You now have the choice to go to one of 3 towns, while helping clear out some monsters. The music during this stage is one of the best in the game. It is so sullen, and it's the kind of music that plays when you know the world is screwed. Soon after, the party heads to the castle war room. There it is decided that a multiplex lens cannon will be constructed to destroy the Aether Sphere. However, it will not be strong enough to destroy the whole thing. In order for the crisis to be settled, Stan and the others must defeat Chronos, personally.
Stan and company right now have 2 objectives: fix the Draconis and upgrade their Swordians. First, they head to Calvely's junkyard to find some Bacillium to repair the Draconis, which was simple enough. Now to deal with the Swordians. They find a Swordian R&D lab in the village of Armada, which happens to be where the Swordians were created. They find a super high temperature reactor that gave birth to the Swordians and put them in the reactor for a boost. After some surging pain, the upgrades are successful. They are now feeling pumped and ready to kick Chronos' butt. But unfortunately, because the lens cannon is not complete, it has to be held off simply because we need to find more lens. Yeah, more fetch quests.
Oh, my favorite!
Well, after some more time passes, as well as our patience, the crew gets 3 prototype crystals and delivers them for the cannon to be fixed. After a full night of rest and last-minute chatting before the final fight, the morning comes and it's time to save the world once and for all. Alright, let's blast this thing! And it doesn't fire. It turns out the Aether Sphere can't be destroyed by the lens cannon because it's absorbing the world's energy in order to create a new utopia. So, in order to break through it, at this point, they must find a weak spot. And the weak spot is Radisol, where Riker happened to originate from. Riker chooses to sacrifice himself to give our party a chance to save the world. And despite their reluctance, they do what Riker requests. They blast Retisol with the cannon, creating a hole in the aethersphere for them to travel through. With that, they board the Draconis, fly through the aethersphere, and make it to Die Croft. Once there, they step on a magic circle, which sends them to a prison area?
Oh no. No. No! Yeah, it's just like in Tales of Fantasia. If you step on that magic circle in the final area, you get sent to the dungeon.
At least in Tales of Destiny, the Dara emblems are in the same castle. I mean, you don't have to leave the dungeon and find some random area in the world to locate it, which, you know, was bull. So you find all the Dara emblems and you pass through. From here, we reach a room with a puzzle featuring crystals. Yeah, and you know what? Let's just fast forward through this.
Take our word for it. The final puzzle in this place is not something worth remembering.
We finally reach a room filled with people in capsules. They're not dead, but being revived. The energy being drained from the world is being used for this purpose. Team Destiny is about to stop it when Chronos appears before them. He then dares the group to step outside. Oh no, he didn't!
It turns out that Chronos plans on resurrecting the Etherian people.
You know, he's pulling a Khan from Star Trek Into Darkness. Oh great, another modern movie that ripped this game off. Anyway, Chronos has prepared a special welcome. The group is shocked to see a reanimated Leon approach them. Chronos brought him back to life as a puppet, forcing them to fight him. Again.
That is messed up!
Chronos! No way you live, no way! The first fight entertains Chronos, but now it's time to get real. The power of the Eye flows into Chronos, becoming Ultra Chronos. And oh god, what the hell is that? Kill him with fire! With Chronos finally defeated, the Die Croft starts falling. And if it hits the surface, the planet will be destroyed. The only way to stop it is to destroy the Aethersphere totally. And the only way to do that is to plunge the Sordians into the Eye of Anamani. Ston refuses to do so, but Dimlish assures them that this is the only way, and that they've lived long enough. After a tearful goodbye, they plunge the Sordians into the Eye and run away. They make it to the Draconis and escape, while the Sordians send a shockwave, destroying the Aethersphere, ending the threat once and for all.
And in the end, the day is saved, everyone goes on with their happy lives, and, well, that's pretty much it.
Well, until 18 years later, but that's a story for another day.
For what it was a good start into the whole new world of expansion, and a good attempt at taking a starting series to new heights, while trying to remain faithful to the game that started it. Thus, in the progress, taking little risks. Ultimately, though, despite the efforts, we can't say it's a game that's aged well because of it. The limitations and choices to keep the game too familiar to its Super Nintendo counterpart definitely shows in the visual aspect, and doesn't even try to do anything memorable graphically outside of Production IG's cutscenes, which, let's face it, were a rare occasion. The power of the PlayStation, a couple years into its lifespan, was already capable of proving so much more in the entertainment department, especially in terms of gameplay. And sadly, Tales of Destiny even there proved lacking, as combat was clunky, multiplayer was a chore to figure out, the magic powers stopped the pace of battle, and the battle rates themselves were far too obnoxious to the point of sheer annoyance that sometimes we had to put the game down for a while as it just wasn't that fun.
The game was still a financial success and paid off enough for the series to continue, ultimately growing bigger and better. Later on, they would revisit Tales of Destiny, upgrading it to what we believe is a much better game, and one we highly recommend.
As it stands, the original Tales of Destiny game is pretty much for Tales enthusiasts, as any outsiders wanting to come in might unfortunately get bored with it pretty quick. The story is good, but it's not for everyone.
Wait a minute. Tales of Fantasia, Tales of Destiny, that covers 2 of the games. That means the third one